Hi, so today I'm going to be showing you how to do the alcohol ink butterflies. And just to show you an example of what you can do, here are some that I already have done. Now they aren't fully dried yet, so I still have them on paper towels, as you can see, and they'll still be drying for a little bit. But just to show you an example of what you can do with your butterflies. We're going to start off with our supply list here. So over here I have all my alcohol inks. I have 6 colors in total. I tend to use the brand Tim Holtz Ranger for all of my alcohol ink supplies, but there are other companies, so don't feel like you have to stick with them if you don't prefer them, but they're just the ones I tend to use. So with these 6 colors, I can do numerous different things with the butterflies. I'm not just limited to these colors, as you'll see in the video. Whenever we put them on the butterfly, then the colors become different variations of themselves. So it adds to really interesting effects. You're also going to want some alcohol blending solution. Now for everything and I don't need it for everything I do with my alcohol inks, but for the butterflies, I definitely need the blending solution just because of the material my butterflies are out of. And I'll go into that a little bit later. And then we also have the felt applicators. Now with the felt applicators, there's a couple different ones you can get. I just tend to use this ones. They come in a stack, as you can see here, and you just buy the stack. With these ones, I tend to get the dye on my hands. If you choose, I personally don't mind, but if you don't want to get dye on your hands, I suggest that you use some gloves to make sure that they don't stain your fingertips. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that on the alcohol ink bottle, it will show you right here, vapor harmful. So just make sure that you're in a well ventilated area, and when you go to store your alcohol inks, I try to keep them in a darker spot because they are flammable. So here's our butterfly that we're going to be doing, or I'm going to be showing you today. And if you look here, it's kind of like a plastic, as you can see the reflection of like our chandelier in the butterfly. So it's a hard plastic, and I actually get these from Brea Reese. They come up with a whole bunch of different alcohol shapes. You can get rectangles and butterflies, and I just have the butterfly ones because I think they're really cool. So I also have it on a paper towel to protect my surface because alcohol ink does stain. So my paper towel is folded over multiple times because it will like go through the first layer, but it won't go through the others. So first off, we're going to start by prepping our surface with the alcohol blending solution. I'm just going to take a couple dabs. And if you see it on there, I'm going to take my felt applicators. You can take one or just a couple. And I'm going to make sure that it's spread all over our surface here. It's always good to go a little more than, I know my surface is moving around a lot here, but it's always good to go a little more than what you need. Just because you want to make sure you get all to the edges and all around the butterfly. Alright, so now you can see like it's a little shiny, a little glossy, because we have it everywhere now. So now you just put your alcohol inks on. What I've noticed, and I like to tend to do, is start with a lighter color so that it keeps all the other alcohol inks brighter. So I like to start with my yellow, because when I start putting in the other colors, they just tend to be on the brighter side. And I'm just going to dab it down on. And you see how it starts moving around and globbing up. And if it's not doing enough for you, like this one, I probably should have put a little more blending solution on. I'm just going to dot the blending solution onto it. Help it spread out there. See how it's starting to move around? And then I'm going to start with my next color. So you keep adding and adding until you get your base done. Because what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple different layers of the alcohol ink. So once I have it out like this, I'm going to take my felt applicators again, and I'm just going to drag it to all the edges that it needs a little help getting to. See how beautiful that looks? Sometimes I'll get like a couple hairs or dirt in or something. You just pull those out. Alright, so you see how we're starting to get our coloring in there? Alrighty. Not too bad of a start. So then we're just going to keep adding some more color. So I want a little bit more stronger orange in different spots. And it's going to do its own blending. So just let it do what it's meant to do. Don't force it. Like, if you don't like a certain spot, don't get overwhelmed. Don't like get frantic or anything. Now, see where we have a lot of alcohol ink in here and it's starting to like turn a blackish color? That's where I like to use my felt applicators, and you'll notice they get very dark or very filled very fast. So you like to have a whole stack nearby just in case. I'm gonna go in, I'm just gonna dab it up a little bit and see how we're getting some really interesting coloring going on there. Now I can let it go. I don't have to do this. There's a whole bunch of different things of what you could do. I'm just showing you guys how to like start it off, but feel free to experiment. It's actually not that bad of a base. We're looking pretty good here. Sometimes I surprise myself with my color choices. Okay, so we're actually going to leave that there. Sometimes I'd go a little further and other times I'd stick right here, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to move this off to the side, and I have another one that I had started before this because I'm going to want to let that dry because we're going to do a couple different layers. So here's another one that I had already started, and I'm going to do another layer. So if I'll show you in my example here how I get a little speckling effect, it's almost like using the second layer as like an eraser in a way. So we're going to pull up more color than what we put down to add interesting effects. So we're going to want to make sure that we get a fresh felt applicator for this. Let's see right here. So I got a couple new felt applicators, fresh ones. And I think I'm going to put in some orange. So if you see, it's going to show up darker in the background. It's going to start splaying out there. I'm going to start dabbing. See how it's picking up some of the coloring? So I like to start off with a good base, and then I go in and I kind of like erase it a little, if that makes sense, to get like really cool, interesting. So see how we just upped how interesting that looks? We just raised it another level there. It's looking pretty good. So then I'm going to want to add a little bit of yellow. And even if you don't want yellow in your coloring, you might want to put a little in just because, like I said before, it helps brighten up your design. Now you don't have to do a second light layer if you don't want to, like I'm showing here. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can stick with your first layer, like I said. So right there, looking a lot better. Although I would like to add a little bit more purple in, because you can see we have some hints in there from my first layer, but I don't have any in my second layer. So I'm going to add a little bit of purple in. And then just going to go through and dab. So you just do it until you get an effect or until you get the look that you want. I tend to just let the alcohol ink do what it has in mind and just help it on its way. That may sound a little nuts or crazy, but alrighty. So I think I'm gonna just leave it right there. Not looking too bad. So then after this is dry, you can use a sealant, like a spray sealant. I have found out that I use a Krylon spray sealant for one of mine. one that I had done earlier, and what happened was it actually added more speckle effect to it. So you can try and experiment with different sealants just to see what they do. And then what I tend to do with the butterflies is I'll have a picture of one of my finished projects at the end of this video, where I did a background and then I did a flower, and then I do like some line work and everything with it, and then I glue the butterfly in the sky so it's flying over the flower and stuff to add a little bit of like a collage effect to it. But you could do a whole bunch of different things with these. So alrighty, well, I hope this was helpful, and I hope it inspired some ideas for you guys. Go out and experiment and have fun, and thanks for watching. Bye.